Good morning and welcome back to my channel. I've been away for a really long time. I've had sort of a sabbatical. I think the last time I saw you was in May and I was getting ready to go away for a work trip. I was going to be away for a couple of weeks and I haven't recorded anything since. I've mostly been ill. I've had glandular fever this summer, so I've been really quite ill. And that has kept me out of the garden. So I've essentially abandoned my allotment garden in about May, and I'm only really just coming back to it. Nothing has really happened. I've done little bits of tidying here and there, so it's not quite as bad as it was at one point. And I'm trying to make an effort to just make the most of the garden for the period of time that we have left. It's still plenty of time to sort of sow things and plant things. I've got some beds that I need to clear, and I'm going to have a go at just sort of tentatively direct sowing a few things. It's been quite warm, it's quite humid, there is rain around. It hasn't been the best of summers, but from a gardening perspective it's not too bad. So yeah, I'm just going to see if I can get some things going. We might do a little tour today. I do have some seedlings that I've module sown, and I'm also waiting on a delivery. Just because I've got so many gaps, I've ordered some plug plants from an independent online nursery called Roots, I think it is. I might pop a link if I remember, which I'm waiting to come, so that I've got some things just to tide me over. So yeah, so it should be quite a good time on the garden. Okay, so the area is now clear. I've left in situ one carrot, which seemed to have germinated from my attempt to sow carrots in this bed earlier in the year, and one snapdragon, which is the sum total of what's left of my last autumn's planting flowers, apart from the very last remnants of the cornflowers, which were spectacular earlier in the year. Ooh, zoomed in a bit too far. Okay, it won't let me zoom out, so we're just going to deal with it. Just a quick note on the compost that I've used to top up the corner of this bed. I went to my local country stores this morning to get compost. I happened to be in B&M and they had compost, just like grow more, but I wanted to go to the county stores because it was slightly better value, and also it's like a small local business and I wanted to support them. But when I got home, after buying 6 bags of this compost, I realised that it is 100% peat. Now, I didn't even think to check it before I bought it, because I didn't think that you could buy peat-based compost in the UK anymore. I thought it was illegal, so it didn't even occur to me to check. But I've got 6 bags of 100% peat-based compost, and I'm really cross about it, like really livid about it. I can't take it back. I am going to use it, but I won't be buying it again. In this box, I've got things that can be sown now. I've got some spring onions, some beetroot, actually that's also beetroot, loads of like lettucey things, spinach, sure, I grabbed a packet of carrots. I wanted to have a go at just doing some really late carrots in this bed, but it looks like I've left those seeds somewhere else, so bear with me, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with carrots. I've got 2 packets. These are Burpees short and sweet, and these are early Nantes. Nantes? See if I do that with a bit of a French accent. So both of these say sow by June or July. It's the middle of August, so, but these are early varieties, and it's always been my understanding that early means fast growing. So these should get established, hopefully, fingers crossed, and give me an autumn cropping. So that's what I'm going to try and do. We'll see how we go. Okay, I've just had a little tidy up and I've come into the shed because outside it looks like it is about to pour with rain. Look how dark that's got. So I'm going to just do some module sowing in the shed for a little bit. What have I got to sow? Let's have a look. So I've just filled a seed tray with some seed sowing compost. And I've got 5 rows, so I'm going to grow some corn salad, some komatsuna, some pak choi, some spring onions, and some mizuna. Must remember to do my labels before I start. For the mizuna and the corn salad, I have tried to just put 2 seeds in each module, because ultimately I only want 1 of each plant in each module. The mizuna seeds particularly are really tiny, so most of their modules actually do have 3 seeds in it, and I will thin that down to the strongest plant if I get germination. I've done the same with the komatsuna. I've got aimed for 2 seeds in each module, and I will thin that down to 1 healthy plant. The pak choi, I've actually just put sort of 3 or 4. I haven't really worried about it. I normally direct sow pak choi. I haven't done that this year just because I don't have a place ready for them. But when I do direct sow them, I just sow them in and then I thin them as I harvest them. I find that they grow quite well together, and it doesn't matter if I end up with sort of 3 little ones or 1 big one at the end of the day, so I tend not to bother. So I've applied the same approach to the module sowing. I'm about to sow the spring onions, and I will intentionally multi-sow these, probably about 5 seeds in each module, maybe 6. I haven't had great germination. These seeds are getting a bit old. So yeah, I will do 5 or 6 in these, and again I will intentionally plant them out as a bunch and then thin them as I go. And there we are, all tucked up in their seed tray and ready to go out for some water. Take them out to the mini greenhouse. There we go. Oh. And we can see here what else we've got going on. Here we've got a lot of kale. We've got 3 different types of kale: scarlet, black Tuscan and blue. I sowed a lot of kale because last year, or earlier this year when I sowed kale, no, last year when I sowed kale, these are some really old seeds, and the scarlet and the black Tuscan I didn't think I got any germination from, so this was like a last attempt before I chuck those seeds away. I knew the blue kale was good, so that was what I was aiming for. And I've actually got germination, a lot of germination off the black Tuscan and some germination off the scarlet. So I'm going to end up with a lot of kale. Over here, I've got some cauliflowers all the year round, some spring cabbage April, red cabbage, which, oh, I have got just, that was not there this morning, so that's exciting. Some rainbow chard and some fennel, and I think I've definitely got no germination off the fennel. I didn't get any germination off this fennel last year either, so I think, but I had 2 packets of fennel and I didn't record the names. One germinated, one didn't. So I think the big Sicilian is going in the bin. Those are the seeds that we've just planted together. And here I've got some corianders, a lot of beetroot, a few lettuces, of which I have limited germination, and spring onions, of which I've also got limited germination. So I'm going to have to do some more of those. And then I did a whole tray of calendula. Again, I did loads because it was a really old seed. I didn't know how well it would germinate. I've got patchy germination, as you can see. But I find that once a calendula patch is established, it just looks after itself and keeps coming back again and again and again, and it's really, really pretty in the garden. So I will probably aim to put some around the edges of each of the borders. So this is what the garden looks like today. I'm not going to do a full tour now. I think I've hit my limit in what it is that I can do. But there's a little look at what we've got. I'm not going to sign this off. I'm going to come back to you on another day, hopefully when my plant delivery, or my plug plant delivery, has arrived, and I will show you what those things are and where they're going to go, and then we can do a tour, and then you'll be all caught up on all the things. So bye for now. Welcome back. It is the next day. I've been out in the garden for a little bit of time already, just doing some little jobs, but the doorbell rang and my plug plants have arrived. So I've just unpacked the box. No, I haven't. I've opened the box, but I haven't unpacked it. I thought maybe we could have a look at what I've got together. Okay, so this is the box. I have ordered a globe artichoke, some perpetual spinach, wild rocket, sorrel and giant winter leeks. It's come with a cute little postcard and a copy of the brochure. And then I've got some sorrel. I love this packaging, it's so cute. Perpetual spinach. I've long ago grown up trying to grow spinach from seed, it just doesn't want to. Some wild rocket. this one. Ah, these are the leeks. And here must be my globe artichoke. Globe artichoke was one of the first things that I bought for this allotment and planted. Quite a well-established one, but it didn't survive its first winter, so I'm taking a bit of a chance getting another one. See if I can open the gate, see if we can find some places for these to go. I think I'm going to plant everything out in this bed. The last couple of years, all through last season and into just now, I've had cabbages in here, and brassicas, kales, that sort of stuff. You can see there is the remnant of a 9-star broccoli, which got absolutely annihilated by cabbages. No, caterpillars. Before it gave me anything, and I'm just desperately hoping, although it needs a good rinse, that it might grow back next year. We'll see. I've got more seed if not. But yes, so this bed is mostly clear. These are Welsh onions. So these are a perpetual onion, a bit like a spring onion. You can see that I've cut them down, and then next month I will dig this up, separate out the clumps and have more clumps essentially. So yeah, so I think this is going to be a good spot to put the winter lettuces. The weather really doesn't know what it's going to do today, so I think I came into the shed to take my jacket off, and in the moment it's taken me to come into the shed, it's gone cold and windy again. I'm going to leave my jacket on. So the little plugs come out of the packet like this. It does say to give them some water. I don't know if you can read that. But actually these look quite damp already. So I'm just going to plant them direct. With the leeks, I'm using a technique called puddling in. where essentially you just create a hole, drop the leek in it, and then use water to help them find their support in the soil, I guess. I'm really pleased, let me just spin you, I'm really pleased with how many leeks there were in that packet. It was 10 plugs, which had clearly been multi-sown. So most of the plugs had 2 or 3 in it, and some of them I've sort of split. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I've got 13. I could have pulled out every individual leek and planted them in nice straight rows, but actually I prefer them bunched up like this. And this one has something else in it that's not a leek. I'm not going to pull it out, I'm going to wait and see what it is. So yeah, so now all I have to do is spray them and let the water do its work. Something that I didn't realise is that I didn't buy 1 globe artichoke, I bought 5 globe artichokes. And they're still quite small. So I'm actually going to go into the shed and pop these up for a little bit until they get a bit bigger, and then plant them out later. I might put the big one somewhere, but the others are quite little. So first up, I'm going to make a potting mix. That should do it. Now I'm going to practice with the biggest plant first. Got a pot. Just going to drop it in. Over. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. There we go. Just do that 4 more times. Really dirty hands now. I'm going to give these a water, pop them in the mini greenhouse, and see what they're like in a couple of weeks. The last thing to try and show you today is the baby pond and see how that's going. So here it is in all its glory. It's doing really well. The water level is a little bit low at the moment. I have periodically topped it up with water out of the hose, but the plants are really well established. I don't know what's got the wasps going crazy. The only downside is that it has got infested with blanket weed. And I did just spend a couple of minutes trying to pull it out so that it doesn't completely destroy the ecosystem in the pond. And maybe that's what's got the wasps' attention, because they weren't here a minute ago. But yeah, it's doing really well. So I did not plant this plant. I didn't sow it. It is a volunteer of some kind. And I thought that it was going to be a pumpkin, because last year I grew loads and loads and loads of pumpkins, and they did really, really well. But this vegetable, see if I can show you, that is not a pumpkin. And although it looks quite a bit like a courgette, it's not a courgette. Could be a marrow, but it's actually not a marrow either. They are edible. I have been eating them, but I've got no idea what they are. And I think this is self-seeded from one of the pumpkin seeds that I grew last year. Those pumpkins were given to me, so I don't know what the variety they were. And yeah, I suspect therefore that they were a hybrid variety, like an F1 crossed hybrid, which they say don't collect the seeds for because the children will never grow the same as the parent, and this is the evidence. So I did save some of those pumpkin seeds, so I'm going to have to go and find them out of my seed collection and chuck them away, because they're going to be no good. They're not going to give me pumpkins, they're going to give me a weird courgette type vegetable. I did promise a little tour, so I'm just going to do a quick mini tour and show you what's going on in the allotment as a whole. We're going to start up by the shed, and here I have the mini greenhouse. These are all the seeds that you've seen me grow or sow in this video. There are a couple I did this morning that you haven't seen though. I did some flowers. I've got some scabiosa, some malop, an Icelandic poppy and some snapdragons. I've got a little tray of lettuce, and this was what we saw from yesterday, the Mizuna corn salad, komatsuna, pak choy and some spring onions. On the, what I'm calling the forest garden, is my plum tree. This is so desperate to come out of this tub. It did make plums this year, but they were kind of pathetic, really small. So yeah, it desperately needs to come out of that tub, and that is a job for this autumn. One of my major successes and unexpected successes was this California poppy that I sowed last autumn. I think I should have had 5. This is the only one that survived the neglect, and it's just been joyous. I never found it at home. It's just been in this pot. But look at it, this is its sort of 3rd big flush of flowers, and I can see it from my kitchen window, and it just makes me so happy. This was a honesty, which kind of came and went. It did make some seed heads, but not really anything to write home about. The black currant bush didn't make any currants this year, but has put on quite a lot of growth. So I'm quite looking forward to next year. The strawberry patch, first year of the strawberry patch. Oh, I've got a volunteer foxglove there. Didn't do too badly, didn't get loads and loads of fruit off it, but the plants have grown really well, so again next year will be good. The first year for the rhubarb, which did really well. Peanut, stop digging. The cherry tree is looking a bit sad. It desperately needs some water. All of the water gets sucked up by these big trees, so I do periodically come along with the hose pipe and just give it a really good drink. I might do that today. And then here is where I've planted out the wild garlic, and I'm hoping just to cultivate a little patch of wild garlic there. This is a new bed that I built quite recently. I've put it in this corner because I can't put anything in the ground here. The roots of the big trees are too close to the surface, so I thought if I make it a raised bed, this is the sunniest spot in the garden, so I really need to make use of it. But there's nothing in there yet, I'm just filling it. At some point over the autumn I will fill that with cardboard and top it up with topsoil, and then I'll be able to grow in it next spring. And then this bed has the tomatoes in it. None of the tomatoes are ripe yet. Most of these tomatoes only got planted out in June and July, so really late in the season. You can see some of them are really struggling to grow. They've sort of stunted, so I'm kind of hoping that the warm weather does continue on into September, because otherwise none of these tomatoes are going to ripen, and that would be really sad. I've got bush tomatoes in the middle bed, and you've seen me working in this the rest of today, and same here. There's a little area here which I've recently redone. This was just getting really weedy all the time, so I dug out the weeds, put some mulch down, and I've put some perpetual vegetables in here, well, herbs really. Big rosemary, that should have been a purple sage but seems to have died. I'm going to leave it and see if it comes back, but I'm not super hopeful. This so far has been successful, which is a grapevine. There is new growth on this since I planted it, and I'm hoping to train it to go up this concrete post. Similarly to this purple sage, this is supposed to be a catmint, but the cats got hold of it before it got established, and I think it's died. I put this cage around it and I hope that it comes back. They should be fairly resilient, but we'll see. The parsley that never dies is still trying to live. I'm going to see if it does anything. And then over here, buckets of raspberries. These did so well, but now I don't know what to do with them. They fruited early in the summer, so I'm guessing they're summer fruiting raspberries. Does that mean I need to cut these back? I don't know. I don't know what to do. If you know what to do with buckets of raspberries, like they're a patio variety, please let me know in the comments. Garlic chives. These again are a perpetual vegetable. I've been really focused on perpetual vegetables this year. It's just things that take care of itself. They need to find a permanent home. Blueberries were magnificent. I've said many times, every garden should have blueberries in it. So delighted. I've just picked the very last few this morning. The pink berry is now starting to ripen. Didn't get any fruit off this last year, but it's teeming. I've done two, one small and one big harvest. Oh, so good. But they are so much more difficult to know when they're ripe, because they're just all the same colour, but the ripe ones do tend to go sort of slightly neon pink. Don't eat that one, so. Buckets of potatoes. These have just been abandoned. Quite frankly, I realised I don't really eat a lot of potatoes. I did empty one, and I'm putting the soil in this bed, which is full and just needs to be filled with topsoil so I can plant into it. It's not a big priority right now. This might become next year's flower bed, but actually, when the bucket that I did empty, the potatoes were really good and they still grew, and yeah, so I have no doubts. I just need to get on with emptying the buckets. This area is still a tip, waiting one day for me to put the greenhouse up. And we're back at the pond. I am going to move the compost bins at some point in the autumn. They just don't work there. They're going to come down here where they're more accessible. But that is a job for another day. Look at the garden from this angle. And this is where I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for coming back to my channel. I'm sorry for such a long gap. If you're new here, welcome. Please do all the things, like, comment, subscribe. There will be more videos, but I don't promise exactly when. I just sort of film when I feel like it. So I'm really excited to get back in touch with some of you and find out what's going on in your gardens. So please do let me know in the comments below. And until then, I'll see you next time.